Hello everyone, good morning. I am Andika Wahyu, along with my colleagues here, Victoria Abigail and Hari Ariawan. First, we'd like to thanks to ACPAC for giving us the opportunity to present our topic today. But we'd also like to offer our deepest apologies to our friends Lydia, Adrian, our moderator today, and the other presenters, as we were unable to attend to the some unexpected circumstances in Indonesia that ultimately required us to still remain here. So today we are not merely presenting some data. We also want to invite you to explore how the spirit of Indonesian cinema actually survived through our paper Institutional Precariousness and Decolonial Challenges in Archival Film Programming in Jakarta. So let's start from the beginning. In 1997 to 1998, our film industry in Indonesia was basically hit by a massive breakdown to the Southeast Asia economic crisis. Everything that used to be centered in Jakarta just came to complete halt. But here's the interesting part, because the government wasn't there to pick up the pieces, the filmmakers and some film activists it themselves took the control. We saw independent collectives like Yayasan Confident pop up that time alongside with the iconic films like Kuldesak and Petualangan Serina by Miles Film. This grassroots movement by Confident, like I said before, led by Alexiar and his colleagues, started in Jakarta but soon spread to other cities like Yogyakarta, Bandung, and beyond, building the strong community and film culture network we have today. The post-reform after 1998 in Indonesia era was a bit of a roller coaster. We called it a time of institutional uncertainty because we see young filmmakers that time were pretty skeptical of old school film institution like Cinematic Indonesia or National Film Production House PFN. So most collectives just did their own thing, keeping the state out of the loop. So there was this huge disconnect because the alternative film scene was super productive, but in the same time there was zero infrastructure or financial support from the government itself. It wasn't until 2010 to 2020 that we really started realizing that we actually need the state to step up, and that's when film archives started became a huge deal for us. The whole landscape of Indonesian cinema has shifted. It's no longer just about Jakarta. Today, it's a collective effort spread all across Indonesia, from Java to Sumatra, Kalimantan, and Bali. The networks born from early festivals like Festival Film Video Independent Indonesia and Jakarta International Film Festival in Jakarta became the stepping stones for new festival everywhere else until today. More than just more than just space to watch films, these alternative spaces are also a room for people to trade the ideas, talk about film criticism, and realize why film archiving actually matters. So the 2010s were a really turning point. Once the industry got back on its feet, the big question was, what's next? The answer was clear that time. We needed to focus on archives. Restoring the classic film like Lewat Jam Malam, Usmar Ismail's film, was the spark that led to uh, collectives like collectives or community like Forum Lenteng, Lab Laba-Laba, Kelas Arsip, and Indonesian Film Archives or IFAS, even though the government started some digitization program between 2016 to 2025 last year, but public access is still a struggle to access that result of the digitization program. So once again, alternative spaces like Kine Forum or Kinosaurus in Jakarta have been the ones really pushing this forward. And the best part is that this energy isn't stuck in Jakarta anymore today. You can see what started in Jakarta also influence to other region like Yogyakarta with the Jav Archive, which I also founded together with Iva Isvansha, Intan Nadia, and Azalia Shafutri, my partner that time. And beside Jav Archive, there also forum-forum documenter with filmdocumenter.id, or in Bali with the Mini Kino Film Library under Yayasan Kino Media or Mini Kino Film Week. It's proof that this awareness about film archive and public access has turned into a genuine community-led movement across the country. So, although there have been success through collaboration, as I outlined earlier, when we discuss the specifically today, the reality of film programming of archive film of film archive in the capital city in Jakarta presents its own practical challenges. In the next slides, Hari will explain in more detail about the logistical constraint in Jakarta, based in his experience. Together with Victoria or Vidya, she will discuss how or explain how this infrastructure limitation not only make things difficult for experienced programmers but also create major obstacle for the new generation like her. Victoria will discuss the impact, also discuss the impact on novice programmers and the solution we offer from IFAS.
One of the main challenges is the limited number of suitable alternative screening venues in Jakarta. The availability of alternative screening venues is crucial because renting cinema room in commercial cinema chain is expensive. These costs are often beyond the reach of independent film communities and activists that operate without support from private institutions or government agencies. In recent years, screening of classic films has become more common at film festivals and programs organized by commercial cinema in Jakarta. However, these initiatives mainly focus on well-known international classics rather than Indonesian films. This is largely because interest in classic Indonesian cinema has not yet become widespread, although it does exist among a small and specialized audience. Since 2015, the Ministry of Culture and previously the Ministry of Education and Culture has run annual digitization and restoration programs. Each year, hundreds of film titles from Cinematheque Indonesia, the National Film Archive, are selected for digitization. Despite these efforts, most digitized and restored films remain difficult for the public to access. Although the ministry allowed access in certain cases upon request, information about these procedures is not widely shared. As a result, public awareness of the availability of these archival films remain low. The concentration of film archives in Cinematheque Indonesia, the National Film Archive located in Jakarta, has made archival resources much more accessible to people in Jakarta and its surrounding area than to its other than to those in other parts of Indonesia. Residents of the capital also have relatively easy access to the National Library and the National Archives of Indonesia, both which hold important film-related collections and documents. This unequal access has contributed to gaps in knowledge about the history of Indonesian cinema and film culture across the country. The problems affects not only people living outside Java, but also those in other parts of Java beyond the Jakarta metropolitan area. Many researchers, film enthusiasts, and members of the public therefore face more major difficulties in accessing archival materials preserved in the capital. The Usmar Ismail Film Center, located on Jalan Rasuna Said in South Jakarta and home to Cinematheque Indonesia, was established in 1975 by Indonesian film director Misbah Yusabiran with the support from Ali Sadikin, the governor of Jakarta at that time. In its early years, the Jakarta provincial government provided regular funding and maintenance support. However, this assistance gradually declined and eventually ended. As a result, Cinematheque Indonesia has become increasingly dependent on support from national and international organizations, as well as individuals committed to preserving Indonesia's film heritage. The institution faced major financial challenge because preserving and maintaining a large collection of film reels requires substantial resource and specialist staff. Due to limited funding, employees often have to clean reels, film reels, and individual frames manually. These conditions are far from ideal for national film archives. Despite being the first film archive institution in Asia, Cinematheque Indonesia has received relatively limited support from the government. Although the Minister of Culture has expressed concern about the archive's condition and institution, this has not yet led to significant policy action or financial assistance.
As mentioned earlier, the events that occurred to Cinematheque have had a significant impact, making it challenging for emerging filmmakers of this generation to access the history of Indonesian cinema through previously produced works, which was once a major archival institution in its time, is now challenged with being left behind, thereby limiting its public access notably to those in archiving. And to learn, we need more places that provide access to films, such as film festivals and under screening programs, are the other alternatives into getting an access of a lot of films. One of the most impactful events, such as Jakarta International Film Festivals, also known as GFest, that has now sadly been discontinued since 1999. The cancellation of GFest also faced venue issues, a problem that still plagues some festivals today. GFest adheres to the standard regulations of international film festivals regarding copyright and intellectual property issues. It really opened a lot of opportunities for a lot of filmmakers, programmers, film critics, distributors, basically everyone within the industry and communities to have good opportunities. Kinoforum is also known as another place, an alternative venue for film screenings beside movie theaters located in Taman Ismail Marzuki, known as an art center. Unfortunately, the condition of Kinoforum has been floating around, leaving one of the things that was really accessible regarding film education and programming more limited. Aside from programming screening, Kinoforum also made some workshops for filmmaking education, such as art director and programming and other stuff. In the beginning, Programming is not something that began as a career, yet people started it without knowing it. Thus, it is challenging to teach about its theory and education about programming. It is also very limited to almost none in film schools here, which leaves an empty room to wonder as a beginner programmer in understanding access about distribution and programming ethics and where and how and when to begin. Streaming platform is one of the things that change in films, especially in distributions. And it is quite limited here to access short films that are commercial based, so it is the independent ones that help filmmakers to reach its audience. Because of this very little access to proper distribution knowledge and history, streaming platforms, the independent ones from the community, like the coming from the independent community, ended up being discontinued due to the access on learning how to keep it consistent. One of them is being funding problem because not everyone, especially in the independent, are able to fund their work to be distributed to the commercial ones. During the monetary crisis, which left a really huge impact within the country, especially in films made the culture of gatherings and community existed in the Indonesian film industry actively, emerging from shared goals and challenges that happen a shift within the industry. A formed community is not proof by only theory, it is what has been happening in the field, and it has been opening a lot of access for people to watch and learn more about films in the country since we cannot rely on the archival institutional. The ones that have been helping are such as Cinema Darurat, a screening program that often has a rundown of films who have won in festivals, or they usually personally curated according to the issues that are happening at the moment in the country, which made like a relatable impact within the audience and connecting it with the filmmakers. And we also have part of the Film Jenglok, a screening program that highlights some of the niche film genres like B movie in Indonesia. Due to minimum exposure about its genre, not a lot of people are taking interest in so or exposed to it as much. Yet the resilience of the community have shaped its existence. And finally, we have Festival Film Jelek, a current trending festival that comes off as satire but has an empathetic purpose that sparked from the problem most filmmakers may face. Because of how exclusive the industry can be until this day, a lot of filmmakers are too afraid to publish to get their work known despite the sacrifices they have made for the work. To preserve a festival or programming, it takes more than just a huge amount of people, but a collective of people with the same purpose, notably those with the same advocacy to keep the film ecosystem going and not forgotten or even gone. Thus, creating a community and expanding it in the industry is important because the system that was there before is very limited. Therefore, we only have each community to back each other by exposing the knowledge regarding archiving and more than just its public access.
So thank you so much, Hari and Victoria. That's exactly why we launching or we started a cinematic hub at IFAS this year. This program is not because we want to uh, take over cinematic spaces. Of course, we just want to make sure those hundreds of classic Indonesian film they have are actually accessible to film communities in in Sumatra, Sulawesi, and everywhere else. We just want to be a bridge in this case. We believe decolonizing or decentralized access isn't just about demanding open access on paper. It's about collaborating to make it happen. So thank you for your attention. I hope we can meet again sometimes and collaborate in the future. So please feel free to contact us via email, social media, or our website. See you next time.